Hi, I'm Girli. I'm at DIFFUS talking about my top 5 queer movies. I decided to choose the topic of queer movies because for me, when I was coming to terms with my sexuality as a teenager, which also coincided with when I started writing songs, I just absolutely devoured queer cinema and TV shows because that was the only place I saw representation of queer characters and queer love, and especially gay women. I didn't know any gay women in real life yet, so I hold a special place in my heart for those movies. Yeah, it's a topic I'm obsessed with. Number 5 is Desert Hearts. This is a film that was actually introduced to me by my girlfriend's mum. I think we were asking her for some recommendations of queer films. She's queer herself, and she was like, oh, you have to watch Desert Hearts. It's one that's overlooked all the time. It was an 80s film about this woman who gets divorced from her husband, and she's a top lawyer, and she goes to live on a ranch in, I don't know, Arizona or somewhere deserty in the US, and she falls in love with this local woman who works in a bar. And it's just really romantic, and it's really cool cowgirl imagery. They're on a ranch, there's loads of great 80s cowgirl fashion. Yeah, it's really fun. Number 4 is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I am so utterly obsessed with this film. And I think my obsession for it has kind of like had a comeback. You know, when it first came out, I remember watching it and just thinking it was so beautiful and emotional. But then also recently, I've been revisiting it because I love the imagery of, you know, this sort of Renaissance, Regency, historical era, and you know, lesbianism, sapphism of that era, because a lot of the visuals for my album Matriarchy are based on, you know, queer women in that time. And so, yeah, I think, you know, it's also really beautiful to see a topic and an era which is recreated in a lot of movies and TV, but often from a, you know, heterosexual love angle, to see that be reclaimed by the queer community and to tell queer stories of love is really beautiful. Number 3 is DEBS, or D.E.B.S. It stands for Discipline, Energy, Beauty, Strength. And it's this really fun camp movie made in the early 2000s about these high school girls who become spies, and they're queer. There's multiple lesbian characters and, you know, sapphic love stories, and it was directed and written by an amazing, you know, queer woman, and I feel like it's so underrated. My girlfriend introduced me to it and I couldn't believe I'd never heard of it or seen it. It's so fun. Trashy, but in the best way possible. Number 2 is Bottoms. This is a film that came out within the last couple years, starring Rachel Sennett and Ayo Edebiri. This film is hilarious, so clever, so sharp and funny. It was, I think, written by, you know, the main actors who star in it as well. And it's about these 2 girls in a modern day American high school who start kind of like a fight club, but for girls, to hold their own against violence from the boys at the school, basically. And there's so much commentary on queerness and feminism, and, you know, there's a lot of really heavy, important topics covered, like violence against women and homophobia, but it's all done through this angle of just this, like, really kind of ridiculous story, and it's just so clever. I am utterly obsessed with that film. Number 1 is Love Lies Bleeding. I watched this film recently in the cinema. It just came out in the last couple months. It's probably one of my favorite films of all time. It's genius. It is sexy, cool, has like murder and thriller and gore, which I love, but also has like steamy sapphic romance and amazing characters, amazing performances. It's just brilliant. And I love it. I feel like visually I love it, story-wise I love it. The performances are amazing. The team who made the film happen were all, you know, queer women, and yeah, it's just epic. I'm a big believer in just, there's no such thing as easing in, you know, just go for it. I mean, hopefully I think I'd say the more kind of like light-hearted fun watches are probably Desert Heart and Debs. Bottoms is hilarious. I'd say start with Bottoms probably. Portrait of a Lady on Fire is very dramatic and emotional, and Love Lies Bleeding is super intense, but like they're all amazing in their own way. This has been Girli for DIFFUS. Those were my top 5 queer movies. Let me know yours.